Ilu ilu hotzianu mi Mitzrayim hotzianu mi Mitzrayim dayenu 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 dayenu.
Chag Sameach, everyone. It's Rabbi Kirshner here along with Rabbi Ruberg, Rabbi Feinberg, and Cantor Singer. And we are here to offer you our 5780 virtual Seder. It is far from what we anticipated doing when we gathered around on Rosh Hashanah half a year ago and how we would celebrate this new year. But the reality of the time requires us to adjust. Now, we can look at this through two lenses. One of sadness that we're not sitting next to our family and our friends and our community. We're not in the vacation spots we usually are for Pesach. Or one of happiness that makes us realize how blessed we are to still be alive, how gifted the notion of technology is to us and to our families, and the ability we all have right now to enjoy and to celebrate this holiday, even though in not the most ideal forms, but still maintaining a sense of tradition and connectivity. For us, it indeed is a different year, it indeed is a different night, but one that is no less spiritual, meaningful, and loaded with opportunity for us to be enriched from this moment. For us, order is very important in Judaism. It represents for us a sense of a cycle, things that we're used to. And that's what the word Seder means. It means order. So we're going to begin this Seder with you by the recitation of the order of the Seder. If at any time there's something at your own Seder you want to review or discuss with those who matter most to you, or those you're just thinking about, whether it's someone in your nuclear house or someone you're Zooming with also, just press pause. If there's something you want to skip over, just fast forward. I bet you wish you had that ability all the time when dealing with your clergy, but sadly you don't. We look forward to a time when we can all be together again. But until then, we hope that this technology makes the most of your Seder. We're going to begin with our Seder, with the order of the Seder. Kadesh Urchatz, Cantor Singer will now lead us. Cantor Singer, you're on mute. You're going to have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Kadesh urchatz kapas yachatz magid rochza motzi matza maror korech shulchan orech tzafun barech Hallel nirtza.
Excuse me. So we begin, as we remind ourselves in the Seder, with the first responsibility of sanctifying the day, and that is the Kiddush. So I have in front of me here, as you can see, a cup. We fill it up with wine, and the cantor will now lead us in this bracha, the blessing of Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafem.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher בחר בנו מכל עם ורוממנו מכל לשון וקידשנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה מועדים לשמחה חגים וזמנים לששון, את יום חג המצות הזה, זמן חירותנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ומועדי קודשך, בשמחה ובששון, הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש ישראל והזמנים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, 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 לזמן הזה,
Amen. L'chaim, everyone.
We're now going to continue on our Seder with the Urchatz section. Urchatz is in one of the weirder parts of the Seder in some ways because it is one of the things that we do that looks like something familiar, but we do it very differently. So we wash our hands, and unlike when we're going to wash our hands later at Rachza, we don't wash our hands with a blessing. And one of the reasons why is this washing is actually a holdover from thousands of years ago when our ancestors used to be very particular about the way they cleaned themselves before they ate hors d'oeuvres. And when they were eating those hors d'oeuvres, they would always make sure to wash their hands first. We are given an opportunity to think about the way in which we choose to continue doing the things that our ancestors do, even though we don't do them ourselves anymore. And as we go through this process of Urchatz, I want us to think about the way in which we are now so concerned appropriately about washing our own hands and why we do so, what it means to us, what comfort it might bring to us as we wash our hands and as we go through that process. And so normally we do a Urchatz without a blessing, but this year I want to encourage us that we add something, that we add soap. So we're going to pause for a second to wash our hands both without a blessing and with soap. Okay.
So now that we finished the Urchatz, we move on in our Seder to the Karpas. Now the Karpas was always a favorite in my family because it was the first time you got to eat at the Seder, albeit sometimes it wasn't the most appetizing item and was probably a little something. The Karpas is supposed to be a green leafy vegetable or something symbolizing spring, but there are different traditions around what people use for their karpas. So I thought it'd be fun to go around the table here, and maybe you go around the table at your own either Zoom Seder or wherever you are and ask people what they use for karpas. What was it that you grew up with? So I want to start here with the rabbis and the cantor around the table. Rabbi Feinberg, growing up in Chicago, what did you guys use for karpas?
Oh, our karpas was, I think, like the classic karpas of just a sad, sad piece of parsley dipped in salt water.
Ah, the little wilty piece of parsley that could barely hold up in the salt water, right?
I just tried to eat just as few of the leaves as possible.
Yum. Rabbi Kirshner, how about you?
Well, in my house growing up, my father's family all came from Russia, and their custom was to use a potato, a boiled potato. My custom has been, as you can see on my Seder plate that's here in front of you, to use soup greens, anything that you would use to give flavor to the soup. So like parsnip, onion, there's celery, there's dill, parsley, turnip, carrot, all of those kinds of things are good little appetizers or hors d'oeuvres, especially when they get the flavor that the soup gives, and that's what we like to eat in our house. So these are all things you would find to give flavor to a soup, but also all green vegetables, or not technically green, but root vegetables.
Cantor Singer, you there?
Yes, parsley.
What did you parsley? And if I were to go to every person at their Seder, I would bet that the majority of us Ashkenazi Jews mostly had parsley at your Seder. At your Seder, raise your hand if you used parsley, okay? And if you use something else, raise your hand. Now, potato, I think, is another one I've heard of. But friends, the truth is, and a little secret, you can use anything that comes from the ground. That is the blessing of Borei Peri Ha'adama. I have heard people use the tradition of using a banana, which technically is Borei Peri Ha'adama. Watermelon. You can have blueberries and strawberries and have a whole fruit salad. You can even have a salad course. Imagine a little karpas salad crudité before you continue with your meal. Whatever you have at your table, though, I'd like us now to begin with the karpas blessing and of spring and rebirth, that each of us take whatever item we have here. And this year, we're ultimately just glad to have whatever food we have, especially fresh fruits and vegetables. And so we're going to now turn to the blessing, which we say over such a vegetable, the karpas. So take whatever you have, and even if it's a sweet vegetable or a sweet fruit, you're going to dip it in some salt water, or if you don't have salt water, goodness knows, there's been enough tears out there this year. Just have something sweet and something special. And we're going to say the blessing together. Please join with me or repeat after me. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'adama. And as you can see here in the English, for vegetables like celery, parsley, potatoes, we say, "Blessed are you, God, ruler of the universe, who creates fruit of the earth," reminding us that spring is here. It is outside. Just go outside. You'll see the trees are blossoming.
I don't know about you, but these days when a package comes, it's very exciting because it's like a connection with the outside world. Maybe it's something ordered on Amazon, like a new puzzle that our family will do, or some kind of game that we can all play. And a package came that we were not expecting. It arrived yesterday on Shabbat from FedEx, and it was a box of shmura matzah from Israel, from our dear friend, Rabbi Menachem Traxler, who he and his wife, Rena, had a beautiful baby boy last night, so Mazel Tov, on the Rebbe's Yortzeit. Rabbi Traxler runs Kolel Chabad, and that is a amazing organization that feeds the hungry in Israel. It's where our son Elias is dedicating his energies for his mitzvah project, his Kesher Olam for his bar mitzvah, to help the hungry in Israel. He spends a lot of time packing up food when we're in Israel. And this shmura matzah was made in Israel and brought here. And the first thing we do after we have the green vegetable is we do something called yachatz, where we break, and I got a head start, the middle matzah. So this middle matzah is broken. We start off with a broken middle matzah for two reasons. One is practical, and that is on Shabbat and holidays, we had lechem mishnah. We had 2 loaves of challah, or 2 loaves of bread. And if we break the middle one, the number 3 that we come up with is what's required. The second reason we have yachatz is to show that even in a sense of feasting, even in a sense of happiness, we're not full. We're not complete. There's a brokenness to us. No matter what we do or how we go about it, sometimes in life we have to embrace different levels of brokenness. I bet you no matter what kind of matzah you have, whether it's strites, margaretin, manischewitz, it won't break down the middle, even though there's perforated lines. And to me, that's always symbolic of brokenness that lives in our life. And we have to embrace and accept that level of brokenness for each of us and understanding what it is to have a sense of freedom. Even in our freedom, we are not full and not complete. We're going to take the other half of this brokenness, we're going to hide it for the Afikomen, and we're going to make sure that our kids are able to find it just a little bit later. Cantor Singer, will you lead us now in Halach Ma'anya, which is a verse about the bread of affliction, this poor person's bread that we eat. It happens to be, besides Haggadah, the only piece of Aramaic in the entire Haggadah. Halach Ma'anya.
Halach ma'anya, diachalu avatana, be'ara de Mitzrayim, be'ara de Mitzrayim, kol dichfin yetei ve'yechor, kol ditzrich yetei ve'yifsach, השטחה לשנה הבאה בערדי ישראל, בערדי ישראל, השטחה ודי לשנה הבאה בני חורים.
Well, I guess it's that time of the Seder for the youngest member of the community to lead the 4 questions. And as I lead these 4 questions, I want us to think about what are the questions that we're asking about the Seder tonight. It says in the Talmud that even if the community of people at the Seder is just a bunch of rabbis or cantors, they still have to ask the 4 questions. And even if you're just 2 people at your Seder, you have to ask the 4 questions. And even if it's just you by yourself, you should always be asking the 4 questions, because the questions are meant to encourage us to not only think about what it is that we're doing as we gather here for this Seder, but what is it that we're doing when we take part in this ancient ritual and tradition, and how does the story of Passover impact us and our lives today? So as I sing as best as I can the 4 questions, which will be up on the screen in just a second, I want everyone to think about what are 4 questions, or what is 1 question that you're thinking about this year that changes the meaning of Pesach, that has an answer to why is this holiday different from all other nights. So we're gonna put it back up on the screen. And when in my house, we sing the refrain together, so you'll all have to join in with me. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot, shebechol halelot, anu ochlin chametz umatzah, halayla hazeh, kulo matzah. Halayla hazeh, kulo matzah. Shebechol halelot, anu ochlim shar yirakot. Halayla hazeh, maror. Halayla hazeh, maror. Shebechol halelot, ein anu matbilim, afilu pam echat. Halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, shetei amim. Halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, shetei amim. Shebechol halelot anu ochlim ben yoshvinu ben mesuvin, ben yoshvinu ben mesuvin. Halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, kulanu mesubin. Halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, kulanu mesubin. All right, so now I want to ask all of the members of the clergy, what is a question that you're asking this year that you weren't asking last year? A question about Passover, a question about the Seder that is new to you this year. We'll start with Cantor Singer. Cantor, I think.
I feel ridiculous even to ask what's different this year from any other year, because the answer is probably obvious. This year we are smaller, tighter, and closer to each other, and it's obvious to everybody.
Great. Rabbi Ruberg, what is your question for this year?
I think the question for this year in my family is, what are you doing for Seder? Every year we know what we're going to do. We know who we're going to be with. We know how we're going to run it. For the first time, we're like, where are we going to go? Should we Zoom with our family? Should I Zoom with all my family? Or is it just going to be us? How are we going to do Seder this year? It was a question we've never had to ask.
Great. And Rabbi Kirshner, what's your question?
My question this year is, on all other years, we think about what happened historically to the Jewish people that we have to try and import to modern times and say what it must have felt like. But this year, we don't have to do that at all. If we want salt water, we just take it from our cheeks. If we want to know what it is to feel enslaved, we are enslaved in our own homes. We are enslaved by not being able to be with those who we care about, like parents and grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles and siblings. And for me, the holiday, in some of its challenging and some of its beautiful parts, feels very, very real and not ancient.
Absolutely. And I'll say for myself, one of the questions that I'm having, and I'm not a person who likes to find silver linings in tough situations, but I am thinking a lot about not just how is this year's Seder different than all the other Seders of my life, but what are the things that me and my family are going to do this year that we're going to want to carry forward into next year's Seder, into next year's Passover experience, when we hope we will be free people. We say, L'shana haba, we hope we'll be free, but what are the things that we're doing now that we like? What are the things that we're doing now that we didn't think were possible before that we're going to bring with us into next year's Seder? So I want to encourage everyone to take a moment, pause our recording, and ask people around your Seder table, whether it's a physical Seder table or a virtual Seder table, and ask, what's the question you're asking about this year? What's the thing that you're thinking about that's getting you to think, getting those creative juices flowing about the holiday of Passover, our situation right now, and how we move forward?
Beautiful. Cantor, let's join together. You can lead us in Avadim Hayinu.
Avadim ayinu, ata bnei chorim, avadim ayinu, ata bnei chorim, ata bnei chorim, Atata bnei chorim, Atata bnei chorim.
And let's join together again, Cantor, with Baruch HaMakom.
Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch hamakom, Baruch hu. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael, Baruch hu. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Baruch hamakom, Baruch hu.
I know that Rabbi Feinberg is planning to share something about the 4 children. I just wanted to interject one thought here that I didn't put on the script, so I apologize. But when I had first read Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's Stages of Grief, and then later in organizational psychology became familiar with a notion called SARA, which is an acronym for shock, anger, resentment, and acceptance. I couldn't help but think of the 4 children and the different stages of life that they go through, and the stages of life that I seem to go through a little bit every day during this COVID-19 crisis. I wake up in the morning in disbelief and a little bit of shock that we are where we are. Then I get very angry about the fact that we can't have our lives the way that we're used to, that plans have been canceled. I get very resentful of those that weren't prepared or didn't help us in overcoming this. And then I have a level of acceptance. And that's happened for me on the macro and on the micro. And I think the different stages of who the children are and what they're about also represent those different stages that we're dealing with in our shock, anger, resentment, acceptance, and in grief as well. So thanks for letting me add those 2 words, Rabbi Feinberg.
Of course. I think as we approach the 4 children, one of the things I think about every year is that there's a strangeness in calling your 4 children wise, wicked, simple, and questioning. I'm not a parent, but I understand that sometimes you might look at your children and say, oh, they exhibit traits of being wise or wicked or simple or questioning, but it's not that they are always one or the other. There is a ability for growth and development, and so it seems strange that the rabbis, that our tradition, which is so concerned with education, would put children in boxes. And one of the teachings that I think is so relevant and so beautiful is actually that we, as we go through the 4 children of the Pesach Seder, are meant not to think about it as 4 separate children, but to think about it as one child that the parent misunderstands the questions that the child is asking. And each time the child asks a question in a different way, the parent responds thinking about the child in a different manner. So first the child asks a question which seems very wise, but then the child repeats himself and asks the question again. So the parent decides that the child didn't like their first answer, and so then they're wicked. They ask again. Maybe the child isn't wise or wicked, but maybe the child is simple. And finally, the child, in frustration, gives up and can't ask any more questions. And it's only then, as we get to the final answer, the final response, that the parent is supposed to tell the child who doesn't know how to ask, saying, it's because of this whole event, the leaving of Egypt, that God did for me when I went free from Egypt. That's actually the thesis of what it is that we're trying to do. It's the thesis of what it is that we're trying to teach. And it's only after recognizing that the child has so many different facets, that there are so many different parts of their experience, that the parent finally realizes what it is that the child is asking, what it is that the child needs, and what it is that the parent needs in that moment also. So as we think about the 4 children and that experience of being one of those children or being pigeonholed into that experience, I want us to think about what it means to say, we're not just wise, we're not just wicked, we're not just simple, and we're not just questioning. We can be all of those things, and that's all good. And that sometimes we need to experience all of those things, and the people around us need to see us in all of those different ways to finally get to the truth of the matter, to finally get to what's important. Finally, I want us to look at this the image on your screen. There's in the Seder and Haggadah that we have sent out to the community, there are many different interpretations of the 4 children. And this is a favorite in amongst the 4 of us, about which book represents which child. And I want to encourage you to take a pause to have a little discussion among the participants at your Seder and think about which book is which child. Is the open book the wise child? Is the fiery book the wicked? Which one is it? I imagine that among all of us, we might find that each one of us has a different answer to that exact question. And I want to encourage you as you look through this Haggadah to see which images seem like the best possible response for each child. We're now going to continue with Vihisha Amda, led by Cantor Singer. I'm going to invite you to raise your cup of wine.
שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, אלא שבכל דור ודור עומדים עלינו לכלותנו, אלא שבכל דור ודור עומדים עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מידם, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מידם.
We're now going to continue with the recitation of the Magid, continuations of parts of the Seder. Arami Oved Avi. With different readings in Hebrew and in English. I'm going to read a little bit of the Hebrew, and then Rabbi Ruberg is going to share a piece in here as well. Arami Oved Avi, Vayered Mitzrayma v'agar sham bimtei ma'at, Vayehi sham lagoy gadol atzum v'rav, Vayera'u otanu hamitrim v'yanunu, Vayitnu aleinu avodah kasha, V'nitz'ak el Adonai Elohe avotenu, Vayishma Adonai et kolenu, Vayar et onyenu, V'et amalenu, V'yet lachatzenu. V'yotzienu Adonai miMitzrayim biyad chazaka uvizroa netuya uv'mora gadol uv'otot umoftim. V'yavienu el hamakom hazeh v'yiten lanu et haaretz. I can't see anymore. Hazot eretz zavat chalav u'devash.
Want to continue on with a little statement about assimilation and identity, as it says here in our Haggadah. This Haggadah takes the different verses from the Torah and then some rabbinic explanations, and it ascribes to it a sort of general theme. And as you can see, the phrase here, which comes from the book of Genesis, Vayered Mitzrayma, the story of Jacob and his children, and they all went down, also so did Abraham. They went from the land of Canaan down to Egypt to Mitzrayim, and something that I've been thinking a lot about, as you can see, Vayered Mitzrayma, it says, Anus al pi hadibur. They were compelled by the divine word to fulfill the prophecy of God to Abraham that your descendants will be strangers in a land not their own, where they will be enslaved and persecuted. And you know, Jewish history for years has always been that we Jews haven't been fully comfortable in places. We've gone places, but we've always felt a little different. I will tell you nowadays, I have never felt this more than going shopping at Whole Foods. When you walk in and feel, I shouldn't be here. Going supermarket shopping, something so basic and welcoming normally. We're feeling foreign. We're feeling out of place. And this is what our ancestors felt on a daily basis throughout Jewish history. And therefore, we praise God for helping take us away from that fear. So even as we feel that fear again, as we go into locations where we feel uncomfortable and unsettled, we pray that God will again redeem us as he did for our ancestors from Just like Vayered Mitzrayim are going to Mitzrayim, we will return back to the promised land, back to normal, even if we feel a little foreign and uncomfortable nowadays.
So I'd like to talk just for a moment about the notion of anti-Semitism, which sadly has been a central focus of our Jewish world for the last 12 to 18 months in particular. And if ever there was a moment that kind of defibrillated us all back into a shared rhythm, a unique rhythm, it's this moment of COVID-19. What we have seen are moments of unity amongst the Jewish people and moments of unity amongst humanity during the midst of this crisis. And just like when we face those evil dark demons, what we realize is that good is so much more powerful and so much more widespread than the negative virus of hate, of anti-Semitism, of those who don't like. What we also realize is that anti-Semitism is not so laser focused on one particular group or sect. Anyone who hates doesn't hate just one. They hate all. They don't hate only the Haredi Jews. They hate all Jews. They don't hate only black people. They'll hate Hispanic people, and they'll hate people of color or different backgrounds or races. This is the nature of what it is to hate. And this is what started our entire differentiation that led us to be a unique nation where we realized what it was to be enslaved and our responsibility to treat the other as we too would want to be treated.
I want us to continue in the section about from resignation to resistance, which notes an important change in posture of the Jewish people when they were in Egypt, and I think, symbolizes a lot of what posture means to us today, which is that oftentimes when something bad is happening, we don't realize that it's happening, or we don't realize that we can possibly change the situation or affect the world in any meaningful way. And in fact, that's one of the great challenges of our Exodus story, is that for hundreds of years, the Jews never tried to leave. There was never their impetus to leave. And it's only once we're told that they cry out to God, that they say, that they actually shout and cry and sigh to God, that they realize, and God realizes, that it's possible for them to leave. And that moment is a fundamental paradigm shift in the life of the Jewish people. And it allows them to go from people who were slaves, fully immersed in the toxic culture of slavery, to being people who could eventually walk and stand up straight and free. And that transition of posture from bent over to standing up straight, from resignation to resistance, is something that I think is critical for us to be thinking about in our own current situation. How did we, or do we, accept the status quo, whatever it is? And when do we realize that it's possible to hope for something better and to hope and act for something different? And when we are able to make that change internally, we start to see that change externally, not just in our own physical bodies, but also in our lives and the way we treat other people around us. So as we think about that change in posture, I want to encourage everyone to sit up a little bit straighter, to recognize that though we are cognizant and resigned to this particular situation, we are also ready for the moments of resistance, for the moments to stand up straight and embrace a new future.
We've now reached that portion of the Makot, the 10 plagues. How ironic that we are in the midst of our own current plague as we recite 10 plagues. Every year at our Passover Seder, both in our homes and at our synagogue, we normally offer modern day plagues, things that are challenging that we're facing in our own world and our own environment. Maybe it's about anti-Semitism. Maybe it's about cyberbullying. Maybe it's about body dysmorphia. This year, I decided to come up with a list of 10 plagues for COVID-19. Worthy of note is the notion of the plagues, which is always juxtaposed to Dayenu. So the plagues are about something terrible happening where we take from our cup, we'll take our fingers and actually dip wine out to show that we can't have a cup that overflows while others are suffering. And then we immediately go to Dayenu, which is all about happiness and excitement, which really is the identity crisis of the Passover Seder as a whole. It is a feast where we eat a poor man's food. It is a time where we're supposed to have meats and celebrate, but our very first foods that we eat are bitter herbs. It indeed has an identity crisis, and to underline that identity crisis, we have the makot, the plagues, which are followed by Dayenu. So first we're going to do the traditional plagues and pour out from our cup, and then I'll read the modern plagues. Dam, Tzvardeya, Kinim, Arov, Dever, Shechin, Barad, Arbe, Choshech, Makat Bechorot. And then there was an abbreviation by Rabbi Yehuda, Ditzach, Adash, Be'achav. And this is my version of the modern COVID-19 10 plagues. Number 1, isolation and loneliness. Number 2, canceled birthday parties, b'nai mitzvahs, graduations, and celebrations. Number 3, no school, and all of the ancillary challenges that come with kids who can't go to school. Number 4, a loss of job and income. Number 5, the inability to visit family and to see parents, grandparents, siblings, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Number 6, a shortage of medical supplies. Number 7, the fear of the unknown. Number 8, an inability to pray inside the temple. Number 9, no play dates for kids and no play dates for adults. And number 10, illness, suffering, and death from COVID-19.
Well, friends, we are now up to the positive side. Just as Rabbi Kirshner just said, we had the sadness of the 10 plagues, and juxtaposed to that is Dayenu. It would have been enough. The blessings, the gratitude that our people have shown for the great that God did for us in ancient times, but also here in modern times. So that got me thinking, and all of us thinking, about gratitude. And I know a few weeks ago I wrote a little bit about keeping a gratitude journal, even during this time of uncertainty and scare. So we decided that we rabbis in Cantor were going to say, what are our modern Dayenus? What are we feeling is enough for us? What are we grateful for? So I want to go around again, and we're going to share here amongst ourselves, and I hope you'll do the same. What would be enough if you had only that? So I want to start off first with Cantor Singer. Cantor Singer, Dayenu for you. If you only had one thing and you only had that, what would it be and you would be happy?
If only I could have the entire family just around me and to sing, to be together, to eat together, and to know the same thing our every other Jewish family around the world are doing. It's just good enough.
So Dayenu for you, Cantor Singer, knowing that the Jewish people are doing the same thing around the world, that you're with Bruya and your family and you're safe in your home. Dayenu this year. Who's next? How about Rabbi Feinberg? Yes, Rabbi Feinberg, what would your Dayenu be?
One of the things I'm thinking is it's just enough that I have right now is, thank God we are able every now and then to sit down in front of the TV and find enough things to watch to take our mind off of the real world every now and then. In particular, as we were discussing, there's serious TV and there's TV that allows us to just engage and be separate. So I'm thankful for Tiger King, Dayenu.
Tiger King, Dayenu, silly TV shows. I've been watching The Great British Bake Off. I've been enjoying that tremendously, right? That silly things that take your mind off of the world around us. Thank you, Hashem, for Netflix, Hulu, etc. Dayenu, right? Rabbi Kirshner.
I know this sounds silly, but one of the most important muscles we can exercise is our brain. So I am so thankful that in the midst of this crisis, we have been able to take classes online, simple stuff like cooking classes, but also serious classes, not only what the temples offered, but places like the Hartman Institute and JCCs and other programs that I've been able to learn. And my kids, who both go to 2 different schools, have been learning through this process, realizing that we can't let our brains atrophy. That, Dayenu, for me, has been a really important part of this process.
All very good, and I will only add to say, for myself, the gratefulness about having food in the house. My grandfather, a survivor of the Shoah, of the Holocaust, told me stories of being in the DP camps and not having enough food. And never would he or I or anyone ever imagine that we would return to that sort of concern. And thank God, you know, even having something frozen in the bottom of your freezer. I remember I opened up the freezer and found frozen mango chunks. And I said, oh my gosh, this is food. Wonderful. And made myself, you know, a smoothie with it. Thank God we have food in our homes. And I hope that's the same for you. And if it's not the same for you, please let us know. We want to make sure that every person is fed on this Passover, and going forward, no one should be hungry. So thank God for those of us who have food and those who don't, that we can help you to get food. Dayenu. So what we're going to do now is, hopefully, if you're following along, we're going to show you the Dayenu here in the Haggadah. We're going to do a very small portion of the Dayenu. Cantor Singer is going to lead us in the first two verses of the Dayenu, and then we're going to go to the very end of the Dayenu. So join along and sing with the chorus with Cantor Singer. Ilu hotzianu mitzrayim v'lo asava hem shvatim. Cantor Singer, take us away.
Ilu hotzianu mimitzrayim v'lo asava hem shvatim dayenu. Ilu hotzianu mimitzrayim v'lo asava hem shvatim dayenu. And dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et Torah, natan lanu et Torah, dayenu. Ilu הכניסנו לארץ ישראל ולא בנה לנו בית הבחירה. דיינו, 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 דיינו. Dayenu, dayenu, dayenu.
I just want to share a list of my own Dayenus that I sent around to all of you before this holiday, and I hope that it will have meaning in your lives. If during quarantine I were only to have a home to shelter, but I didn't have many rooms in that home, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were to have many rooms, but I didn't have running water, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were to have running water, but I didn't have electricity, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were to have electricity, but I didn't have internet, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were to have internet, but I didn't have cable television, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were to have cable television, but I didn't have computers for Zoom and for learning and connecting to loved ones, Dayenu. If during quarantine I had technology, but I didn't have refrigerators and pantries full of food, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were able to have lots of food, but no one to share it with, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were only to have people to share this with, but they happen to be my most favorite people in the world, my wife, my kids, even my 2 dogs, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were only able to have my family, but we weren't able to have meals together every day, 2 times a day, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were to eat 2 meals a day with my family, but we weren't able to play board games or enjoy time together, Dayenu. If during quarantine I were only able to play games together, but we weren't able to take walks and to share time, Dayenu. My list could literally go on for weeks upon weeks. And like we say in the 23rd Psalm, Kosi Revaya, my cup runs over. Dayenu, even in the midst of quarantine, makes us realize all of the many blessings that are in our lives and that we too often take for granted. You know, Rabbi Gamliel of old said that we had to say 3 things or we haven't fulfilled our responsibility of Passover. Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. So I'd like to read to you what the Haggadah shares about Pesach and fulfilling one of those 3 responsibilities. Pesach shayu avotenu bizman shebeit hamikdash haya kayam al shuma. This Passover that our ancestors used to have in the time of the temple, what was it all about? Just going to scroll up just a little bit. Al shum shepasach hakadosh baruch hu abatei avotenu b'mitzrayim. It's because God, our holy God, passed over the Jewish houses of our ancestors in the time of Egypt. As it says in the book of Exodus, V'amartam zevach pesach hu l'Adonai, asher pasach al batei b'nei Yisrael b'mitzrayim, b'nagfo et mitzrayim, v'et batenu hitzil, v'yekod ha'am b'yishtachavu. These were the houses that were passed over, and as a result, the Jewish people were saved.
We're going to continue with the matzah. So I'm going to encourage everyone to hold up your matzah, and we'll say together, Matzah zo she'anu ochlim, al shuma. This matzah, why is it that we eat it? Al shum shelo hitzpik b'tzei kam shel avotenu la'achmitz ad shnigla aleim melech malchei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu ugalam. It's to remind ourselves that even before the dough of our ancestors in Egypt had time to rise and become leavened, the King of Kings, the Holy Blessed One, revealed God's self to Jews, to our ancestors, and redeemed them. Shneimar, as it is said, Vayefu et habatzeik asher hiotziu mitzrayim ugot matzot ki lo chametz ki gorshu mitzrayim velo yachlu lehitz mamea v'gam tzeda lo asu lahem. The Torah says they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay, nor had they made any provisions for themselves. So great was their rush, so great was their excitement to leave when the moment arose, that they did not have time to let their matzah, to let their bread rise.
And finally, maror. Maror, if you have whatever bitter item you might have. This year, getting horseradish is seeming to be a little bit of a challenge for some people, especially the horseradish root. Growing up, my family always had the root, and I have strong memories of my grandfather sitting there grating that root and basically inviting me to come smell it, and basically clearing up my sinus passages. And it's supposed to feel strong, and it's supposed to feel bitter. And as a result, whatever you have this year will suffice. This year is not the happiest of Passovers. So if you have a little bit of a horseradish sauce, a little grain, or maybe you just have something like romaine lettuce or radicchio, something with a bitter flavor, that's good enough this year. So we'll take our maror, and we say the words maror zeh she'anu ochlim al shuma. Maror al shuma. This maror, why do we eat it? As it says, al shum shemereru hamitzrim et chayei avotenu b'mitzrayim shene'emar vayemararu et chayehem ba'avodah kasha b'chomer uvilvenim v'chol avodah basadeh et kol avodatam asher avdu bahem befarech. To remind ourselves that the Egyptians embittered our lives. They embittered their lives, that is, the Israelites, with hard labor, with mortars and bricks, meaning construction, and with all sorts of field labor, agriculture. Whatever the task they asked, they worked them ruthlessly. And we remember the Jewish people have suffered a lot over the centuries, but we specifically remember this moment of bitterness. Even amidst our modern bitterness, it's not the same as the slavery we went through. So we take this maror and remember that, especially as we combine it in the ancient times with our matzah and with the Paschal sacrifice.
We read a line in the Passover Seder, B'chol dor v'dor chayav adam lir'ot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatza mitzrayim. In every generation, we must see ourselves as if we personally came out of Egypt. And at my Seder and at our synagogue Seder, we normally pass around a mirror. And I ask people the question, what do you look like when you come out of Egypt? Do you look tired? Do you look excited? Do you look refreshed? Do you look like you're full of hope, or do you look like you're full of despair? Are you clean shaven, or do you have a full beard? And I'm curious, when we come out of this quarantine, what will you look like? Will you look scared? Will you look happy? Will you look relieved? Will you look more concerned? Will you look clean shaven? Will you look tired? Will you look thinner? Frankly, I don't care what you look like. I just want to see all of your faces, obviously. But I'm curious to know how each of us are responding to our own quarantine and what it is that we come out of Egypt with. We also realized that if we could only take the things on our back when we were leaving Egypt, what would they be? Would they be pots and pans that were that were significant to us or mattered to us? Would they be pictures? Clearly, technology has had such a vital role in this process of quarantine. I don't know how far we could go without it. I'm curious to know from all of you, what would you bring with you? Rabbi Ruberg, if you could only bring one thing with you, what would it be?
If I could only bring one thing with me, what would it be?
And you can't say a family member. That's a given.
Can't say a family member. And this is if I were doing what again? Just to remind everybody?
Leaving Egypt.
I was leaving Egypt. I could bring one thing with me. I think I would again revert to, I would bring whatever wealth I had. Anything I had, but that was maybe family heirlooms, something of value, something of memory. I would definitely bring that with me.
Great. Rabbi Feinberg, what would you bring with you?
I think I'd bring, I don't know if it's a little anachronistic, but I think I'd like to bring a camera to remember the moment of leaving and what it felt like to be free, what it looked like to be free, and to make sure that I always was able to have that and pass that along to the next generation.
Beautiful. Cantor, will you lead us in singing Hallelujah? You're going to have to take your mute off, Cantor. Your mute is on, Cantor.
Hallelujah, 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 את שם אדוני, יהי שם אדוני מבורך, ועתה ועד עולם, יהי שם אדוני מבורך, ועתה ועד עולם.
And B'tzeit Yisrael.
בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז, הייתה יהודה לקודשו, ישראל ממשלותיו. הים רב וינוס וינוס, הירדן תיסוב לאחור. ההרים רקדו חיילים, רקדו חיילים, גבעות כבני צאן, כבני צאן. מה לך הים, כי תנוס, הירדן תיסוב לאחור, ההרים תרקדו חיילים, גבעות כבני צאן, מלפני אדום, חולי ארץ, מלפני אלוהי יעקב, ההופך יצור, אגמים, חלמיש, חלמיש למיינו מים, למיינו מים.
Rabbi Ruberg? Rabbi Ruberg's having some mild technical difficulties. He's going to be back joining us in just a moment. We know that it's customary at the Seder to have a cup of Miriam, not just a cup of Eliyahu, but a cup of Miriam. Miriam was obviously Moses' sister, but also one who led the Israelite people through their journey. So we hold up our cup of Miriam and we remember as she led in a dance with song and dancing with our timbrels, it was Miriam and her kos that allowed us to cross through to the other side. So we're going to pour our cups, and in pouring our cups, which is poured, we now have it ready. And our next responsibility is rachta, but this time we are washing with a blessing and with soap. Rabbi Feinberg.
As we jump into Rachta, I want to encourage everyone to think about what it means to do our rituals that we're used to and how do we find comfort in the things that we're normally able to do. Some of us, we do our washing every Friday night. The comfort that those rituals provide. In addition, I want to encourage you to approach the washing with soap if possible. But if you're anything like my family, you'll pass around a bowl and a washing laver around your table to kind of sanctify your own table as you go through the blessing. So I want to encourage you to wash your hands however you're going to do it with soap, but also possibly the table. And as you do so, I want you to say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher nitanu mitzvot chavitzanu al netilat yadayim.
Now that we've washed our hands, traditionally we don't speak. I'm only speaking for the purpose of education here. And it's time to eat the matzah. Now, I have not eaten matzah since last Passover, very much by design. So, not my favorite of foods, but now we're supposed to say this bracha, and we're supposed to say it with a shechianu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who extracts bread from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam, asher kitshanu mitzvotav tzivanu al achilat matzah. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who has sanctified us with commandments and commanded us to eat matzah. And in my house, we also say the Shechianu, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu, lazman hazeh. Thank you, God, who has given us another year of life and enabled us another season to eat from this matzah. Amen.
We're up to the maror now. The maror, which we talked about the importance of maror, and now it's time to actually take a taste of it, time to actually eat it. So you'll see here in this Haggadah, it says to take an ounce of raw maror, if you have it, preferably romaine lettuce, but almost equally good is horseradish or crane, which was popular in wintry northern Europe when lettuce was unavailable. Maror embodies the taste of slavery. I'll tell you a story. My grandmother of blessed memory was unfortunately suffering from late stages of dementia and Alzheimer's. I remember sitting in shul with her, and I remember the president of her synagogue said, "Ladies and gentlemen, it is very important that you," and he was going to say, "sell your chametz for Passover." And my grandmother, from her status of being a little bit out of it, woke up and said, "Eat matzah and maror on Pesach." And that has stuck with my family for many years, that one of the two greatest symbols of Passover is the bread of affliction, the matzah we just ate, and the bitter herbs. What makes this holiday different is those two flavors. We don't do them at any other holiday. We ate those two things. So now it's time for us to take our maror. Some dip it in charoset, but not so much that it eradicates the bitter taste. We'll recite the blessing together. And it's a custom, some even have a custom of, you're not supposed to recline. So because you're not supposed to savor this. So we're going to eat it, we're going to get through it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishan b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu ala achilat maror. Blessed are you, God, our Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctified us by commanding us to eat the maror.
Zecher lemikdash kehillel, kenasa hillel bizman shebeit hamikdash haya kayem. Haya korach Pesach hamatzah maror v'ochel b'yachad, lekayem mashna mar amatzot morim yochluhu. Hillel used to make a sandwich of the maror together, and he would say that it's our custom to eat this just as a sandwich. And he would eat the two together. Just one piece of small trivia for all of you. British nobility gave us the word sandwich, invented by John Montagu, named Jemmy Twitcher, an inveterate gambler in the court of George III. Famous for his round-the-clock sessions at the gaming tables, Jemmy used to order his servants to bring him pieces of meat between slices of bread so that he could continue gambling without loss of time. Soon the bread and meat combination was called the sandwich. Jemmy, you see, was more formally known as the 4th Earl of Sandwich. Sandwiches, both during the Exodus in the 13th century and the 18th century of England, were fast foods. In the 20th century, the revivers of the Hebrew language sat down to invent a term for the sandwich. They first suggested it be called chililit, named after Hillel, head of the Sanhedrin, just as the English sandwich was named after an illustrious personage. Later, they settled for karich, from the verb that describes Hillel's original sandwich, korech. Today, most Israelis call it a sandwich, a term borrowed from that of English, but some even call it lachmaniya, from halachma anya. Even that, the bread of affliction. Oh, the connective tissue between Passover and the sandwiches we eat throughout the year. Now is everyone's favorite part of the Seder, Shulchan Orech, the time where we eat. So we want to wish for all of you, whether it's brisket or chicken or salmon, that you have a delicious meal, and press the pause button on your screen, and we'll rejoin you when you've completed your meal. B'tei avon, everyone. Well, I hope you had a delicious meal, and I hope you finished with a delicious dessert, including the afikomen. As is customary whenever we have a meal, we thank God for the bounty which we ate. So I'm going to ask the cantor to sing us now and lead us now in Shir Hamalot, followed by Birkat HaMazon.
שיר המעלות בשוב אדוני את שיבת ציון היינו כחולמים אז ימלא שכרו פינו ושוננו רינה אז יורו בגויים הגדיל אדוני לעשות עמלה הגדיל אדוני לעשות עמנו היינו שמחים שוב אדוני את שביתנו אפיקים בנגב הזורים בדימה ברינה יקצרו הלוך ילך ובכו נושא משך חזרה בוא יבוא ברינה נושא אלומותה. רבותיי, נברך.
יהי שם אדוני מבורך מעתה ועד עולם.
יהי שם אדוני מבורך מעתה ועד עולם. ברשות מרנן ורבותיי, נברך. שאכלנו משלו.
ברוך שאכלנו משלו וטובו חיינו.
ברוך שאכלנו משלו וטובו חיינו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אזן את העולם כולו בטובו, בחן, בחסד וברחמים,
רחמים.
הוא נותן לחם לכל בשר, כי לעולם חסדו, ובטובו הגדול, תמיד לא חסר לנו, ואל יחסר לנו מזון לעולם ועד בעבור שמו הגדול. כי עוזן ופרנס לכל, ומטיב לכל, ומכין מזון לכל ביותיו אשר ברא. ברוך אתה אדוני, הזן את הכל. ככתוב ואכלת ושבעת וברכת את אדוני אלוהיך על ארץ טובה שנתן לך. ברוך אתה אדוני על הארץ ועל המזון. ובני ירושלים עיר הקודש במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני בונה ברחמיו ירושלים, אמן. הרחמנו אם לא חלילה עולם ועד, הרחמנו יתברך בשמיים ובארץ, הרחמנו ישתבח לדור דורים, ויפאר בנו לעד ולנצח נצחים, ויתהדר בנו לעד ולעולמי עולמים. הרחמנו יפרנסנו בכבוד, הרחמנו ישבור אולי מעל צבאית, ולכן מצלצנו. הרחמן ישלח לנו ברכה מרובה בבית הזה, ועל שולחן זה שאכלנו עליו. הרחמן הוא ישלח לנו את אליהו הנביא זכולתו, והרחמן הוא ישלח לנו את אליהו הנביא זכולתו, ויבשר לנו בשורות טובות, ישועות ונחמות. הרחמן יכין לנו יום שכולו טוב, המגדול ישועות מלכו, ועושה חסד למשיחו, לדוד ולזרעו עד עולם. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
We're now going to make sure that we had still a full cup of wine, and we're going to say the blessing on the third cup of wine, which comes immediately after Birkat HaMazon. This third cup of wine is called the Kos Shel Bracha, the cup of blessing. And one of the reasons is that our ancient ancestors, they might have been a little particular, but they knew how to have a good time. At the end, it used to be at the end of every meal, right after you finished having Birkat HaMazon, saying the grace after meals, you would raise a cup of wine and make another blessing and have another cup of wine at the end of every meal. The idea being that we're always in the process, even when we're finishing something, a blessing, to add another blessing on. So I want us to think about, what are the blessings in life? How are we adding blessings into our life at every possible moment as we drink this third cup of wine while reclining? Say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Hagafen.
Amen.
Cantor, it's time for you to now lead us in Eliyahu Hanavi.
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimera וימינו יבוא אלינו. עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד, אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי.
We're now going to do some of our favorite songs towards the end of the Seder. We're going to do a couple verses here and there. You can do as many as you choose. Let's start with Kilo Na'eh, Cantor.
Kilo Na'eh, Kilo Ya'eh, Kilo Na'eh, Adi Bimlocha. Kilo Na'eh, Kilo Ya'eh, Kilo Na'eh, Adi Bimlocha. דגול במלוכה, דולקה לך, ותיקב יאמרו לו, לך ולך, לך כי לך, לך אף לך, לך אדוני הממלכה, כי לא נאה, כי לא יאה, כי לא נאה, אני במלוכה, כי לא נאה, כי לא יאה, כי לא נאה, אדיר במלוכה.
Now let's switch down to Adir Hu.
אדירו, אדירו, יבנה ביתו בקרוב, במהרה, במהרה, בימינו בקרוב. אל בני ביתך בקרוב. אדירו, אדירו, יבנה ביתו בקרוב, במהרה, במהרה, בימינו בקרוב. אל בני ביתך בקרוב.
Hi, everyone. So now is one of my favorite parts of the Seder, Echad Miyodea. It's a Who Knows One song that takes us all the way through the number 13. And we're going to sing it together, and I'm going to ask all of you to unmute yourselves because I'm going to throw out some trivia your way, and we'll see how quickly each of you can answer it. Echad Miyodea, Echad Miyodea. Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim Uvaretz. Time for number 2. Shnayim Miyodea, Shnayim Ani Yodeya, Shnei Luchot Abrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Eloheinu. Sheba Shamayim Uvaretz, Shlosha Miyodea, Shlosha Ani Yodeya, Shlosha Avot, Shnei Luchot Abrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim Uvaretz. Rabbi Feinberg, who are 3 patriarchs?
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Bingo. Arba Miyodea, Arba Aniyodea, Arba Imahot, Shlosha Avot, Shnei Luchot Abrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim Uvaretz. Cantor Singer, can you name our 4 matriarchs?
Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah.
Beautiful. Chamisha Miyodea, Chamisha Aniyodea, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. Rabbi Ruberg, 5 books of the Torah in Hebrew or English.
Let's start with Hebrew. How about Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim? And in English, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy.
Shisha miodeya, Shisha aniodeya, Shisha sidrei Mishnah, Chamisha chumshei Torah, Arba imahot, Shlosha avot, Shnei luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Shabashamayim uvaretz. There's a neat little acronym to help us remember the 6 books of the Mishnah: Zman Nakat, Zra'im, Moed, Nashim, Nezikin, Kedoshim, and Tahorot. Shiva miodeya, Shiva aniodeya, Shiva Yemei Shabta, Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, Chamisha Chumshei Torah, Arba Imahot, Shlosha Avot, Shnei Luchot Habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim U'Ba'aretz. Is there anyone who could tell me the 7 days of the week in a different language? Okay, how about Hebrew? Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, Yom Revi'i, Yom Chamishi, Yom Shishi, and Yom Shabbat. I took a little bit of French. I know a couple of days like Mardi, Vendredi. That's all I got. Uh-oh. Hope my French teacher isn't watching. Shmona miodeya, Shmona admiodeya, Shmona Yemei Milah, Shiva Yemei Shabta, Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, Chamisha Chumshei Torah, Arba Imahot, Shlosha Avot, Shnei Luchot Habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim U'Ba'aretz. 8 days till a baby boy's bris. And it's a very traumatic experience for most of us. I didn't walk for a year after my bris. Tisha miodeya, Tisha aniodeya, Tisha yarchei leida, Shmona yemei milah, Shiva yemei shabta, Shisha sidrei mishnah, Chamisha chumshei Torah, Arba imahot, Shlosha avot, Shnei luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Eloheinu. Sheba Shamayim U'Va'aretz. Cantor, can you tell us any 9 months of the Hebrew year in order? Pick anywhere you want and go in order.
Okay. Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shvat, Adar, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul.
Beautiful. Very nice. Asara miodeya, Asara aniodeya, Asara dibraya, Tisha yarchei leida, Shmona yemei milah, Shiva yemei shabta, Shisha sidrei mishnah, Chamisha chumshei Torah, Arba imahot, Shlosha avot, Shnei luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim U'Va'aretz. Rabbi Feinberg, can you do the first 5 commandments?
Lord your God, you should have no other God beside me. Don't take God's name in vain. You should remember the Sabbath day and to honor your parents.
Beautiful. Rabbi Ruber, can you do the last 5?
Lo tirtzach, lo tinaf, lo tignov, lo tachmod, lo tanev recha et shaker. How's that?
Beautiful. Very nice. All right, number 11. Achadasar miodeya, Achadasar aniodeya, Achadasar kochvaya, Asara dibraya, Tisha yarchei leida, Shmona yemei milah, Tiva yemei shabata, Shisha sidrei mishnah, Chamisha chumshei Torah, Arba imahot, Shlosha avot, Shnei luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim U'Va'aretz. Okay, I'm going to ask all of you, can you name one constellation in the sky? One constellation. Rabbi Ruber.
Oh, sorry.
How about Gemini?
Gemini. Okay, Cantor Singer.
Mars.
Mars. Okay, a planet, not quite a constellation. We'll take it. Jeremy Feinberg.
Orion's belt.
Orion's belt. I was going to do that one. I'm going to go with the Little Dipper, and the Big Dipper. Great. Okay, number 12. Shnei masar mi yodeya. Shnei masar ani yodeya. Shnei masar shiftaya. Chadasar kofaya. Asara dibraya. Tisha yocheleida. Shmona yemei mila. Shiva yemei shabata. Shisha sidrech mishna. Chavisha chumshei Torah. Arba imamot. Shlosha avot. Shnei luchot habrit. Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim Uvaretz. Okay, who amongst our clergy can name the 12 tribes? Okay, Rabbi Ruber, go for it. You're on mute. No one can hear if you're getting it right or wrong.
Yeah, I think I could do this. All right, let's start off with Reuven, Levi, Reuven, Levi, Shimon, Yehuda, Issachar, Zvulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Ephraim, and Menashe.
Beautiful. Look at you. Wow.
All right. You should be a rabbi.
Different alignments.
Someone graduated first in the rabbinical school class. Well done. Okay.
Which tonight is at 6 p.m.
There you go. Shlosha asar miyodeya, shlosha asar ani yodeya, shlosha asar midaya, shneim asar shiftaya, achad asar kochvaya, asara dibraya, tisha yocheleida, shmona yemei mila, shiva yemei shabta, shisha sidrei mishna, chamisha chumshei Torah, arba imahot, shlosha avot, shnei luchot habrit, echad Eloheinu, 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 sheba shamayim uvaretz. Rabbi Feinberg, can you name the 13 attributes of God in Hebrew?
Adonai, Adonai, Rachum Bechanun, Erech Apayim Rav Chesed Ve'emet, Notzer Chesed Lalafim, Noser Avon V'Fesha V'Chata V'Nakeh. All I do.
Beautiful. Brings us back to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Please don't.
All right. Well, it's time to move on to our very next song, which is the conclusion of the Passover Haggadah, Chasal Sidor Pesach. Cantor Singer will lead us.
חסל סידור פסח כהלכתו, ככל מצוותו וחוקתו, כאשר זכינו לסדר אותו, כאשר זכינו לסדר אותו, כן נזכה לעשותו. זך שוכן מעונה, קומם כילדת ממנה, בקרוב נאה ניתחנה, בקרוב נאה ניתחנה, פדויים בציון ברינה.
Okay, let's remember that if you're doing 2 Seders this year, on Friday night you will count the Omer, which will happen for 49 days. And it's time for us to count the Omer for Friday night only. Wednesday night, we do not count the Omer. Thursday night, we do count the Omer for the first time. So if you're using this on Thursday night, I'm going to ask Rabbi Ruberg to lead us in the counting of the Omer. You have to take this.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer.
Amen.
Yom echad yamim la'omer. Tonight marks the first night of the counting of the Omer.
All right. And now for our second to last song, our penultimate song, one of my favorites. If you've been part of our synagogue Seder, you know it's always a lot of fun to sing together. Chad Gad Yah. Cantor Singer is going to sing, and I'm going to make some of the animal sounds, and you all can join in with me and do exactly the same. A story about one little goat. Chad Gad Yah. Everyone together.
Chad Gad Yah, Chad Gad Yah. De Zabin Abba Bite Zuze, Chad Gad Yah, Chad Gad Yah. Ve'ata Shunra,
Meow.
Ve'achela Legadeya. De Zabin Abba Bite Zuze, חד גדיא, חד גדיא, ואתה כלבה, ונשך לשונרה. דאכלה לגדיא, דזהבינה בה, ביתרי זוזי חד גדיא, חד גדיא, ואתה חוטרה. ואיכה לכלבה, דנשך לשונרה. דאכלה לגדיא, דזהבינה בה, ביתרי זוזי חד גדיא, חד גדיא, ואתה נורה. ושרף לחוטרה. דהיכה לכלבה, דנשך לשונרה. דאכלה לגדיא, דזהבינה בה, ביתרי זוזי חד גדיא, חד גדיא.
There's a little more.
ואתה מאיה,
Go.
וכהבה לנורה. דשרף לחוטרה. דהיכה לכלבה. דנשך לשונרה. דאכלה לגדיא. דזהבינה בה, ביתרי זוזי חד גדיא, חד גדיא, ואתה תורה. ושהת למאיה.
Go.
דקבה לנורה. דשרף לחוטרה. דהיכה לכלבה. דנשך לשונרה. דאכלה לגדיא. דזהבינה בה, ביתרי זוזי חד גדיא, חד גדיא, ואתה שוחט. ושחט לתורה. דשתה למאיה.
Go.
דכהבה לנורה. דשרף לחוטרה. דהיכה לכלבה. דנשך לשונרה. דאכלה לגדיא. דזהבינה בה, ביתרי זוזי חד גדיא, חד גדיא, ואתה מלאך המוות. ושחט לשוחט. דשחט לתורה. דשתה למאיה.
Go.
דכבה לנורה. דשרף לחוטרה. דהיכה לכלבה. דנשך לשונרה. דאכלה לגדיא. דזהבינה בה, ביתרי זוזי חד גדיא, חד גדיא, ואתה קדוש ברוך הוא. ושחט למלאך המוות. דשחט לשוחט. דשתה לתורה. דשתה Ota lemaya.
Go, 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 go.
Dekava lenora. Desaraf lechutra. Dehika lekalba.
Ruff, 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 ruff. Say ruff.
Denashach leshunra.
Meow.
Deach gadia.
Meh.
Dezabina ba bitrezu zeichad gad ya chad gad ya chad gad ya. Ose shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel ve'imru amen.
We're now going to officially conclude our date with two things. One is the final cup of wine. So if you haven't already filled your fourth cup of wine, and we're going to say the blessing on the cup of wine. All together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. And then if you want, we can follow along with the words of the bracha for now, the blessing that we say after, because we, as I said before, we always connect our blessings one to another, always adding more and more blessings. And finally, we're going to conclude with Lashana Haba. And we say this phrase at the very end of the Seder, Lashana Haba Yerushalayim, that next year, our hope is that we will be celebrating our Seder, be celebrating the holiday of Passover in the land of Israel, and most specifically in Jerusalem. And we say this phrase, I don't know about you, but I say this phrase knowing that most years I'm not going to celebrate the holiday in Jerusalem. I'm not going to do the thing that it literally says that I want to be doing. And I think as we approach this year's Seder, as we think about what it means to ask for freedom, to talk about the future, this beautiful future when all of us are able to celebrate again in Jerusalem, that we should think about how it is actually that we hope to celebrate our Seders next year. What are the beautiful things that we're going to bring into our Seders next year that we've learned in this coming year? And also that we hope that all of us are able to be together, whether physically or in spirit, together in Jerusalem, in a place where all of us are able to bring everything that we have built over the course of the year, all of our knowledge of freedom and liberation and hope, and bring that into our next Seder. And at the very least, we bring it into the end of the Seder and make sure that we do it again tomorrow night. And as the holiday of Passover continues, I want us to think about what does it mean to, how does it feel to be liberated? And how do we all have moments in our life when we say, this freedom is good, but there's like freedom hopefully that's coming that will be even better. And may we all experience it soon and in person. And we'll say Amen and Lashana Haba.
L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim הבנויה, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim הבנויה, L'shana haba בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה בירושלים הבנויה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. שנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. בירושלים הבנויה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. בירושלים הבנויה.
I want to say Yasher Koach to Rabbi Ruberg, Rabbi Feinberg, Cantor Singer for leading us in our Seder today. I want to wish all of you a happy Passover, a Passover where you can sense some freedom in our ability to still keep our traditions, even though they have to be adapted mildly. And may next year, may we not only join together in Jerusalem, but may we join together face to face in good health. Ken Yehiratzon, may that be God's will. And let us all say Amen, Amen, Amen. Chag Sameach, happy and meaningful Passover to all of you.
Chag Sameach.
Die,